So Money in Bank is done. The road to SummerSlam and Night of Champions begins. And this is an important time for the company. We know it as fans, and they know it as a company. As far as this week's Raw, this was a tough show to sit through for 3+ hours. It really was. But at least they gave us a few elements of something fresh and something new and something potentially exciting that made the show a little more palatable by the time it was over. They do a better job of giving us a more entertaining 3-hour show. This is very, very true. But at least they seem to do a good initial job here of setting the table, at least in the early stages, for SummerSlam and Night of Champions and helping to divert our attention away from John Cena being the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Raw kicked off in its usually pathetically predictable pattern of having Stephanie McMahon and Triple H in the ring for a promo segment, and it set a very bad tone for me right from the very beginning. I'm like, oh, God, we're going down this road again. And then they bring out John Cena. And I guess I still don't understand why Triple H and Stephanie would be so opposed to John Cena as a WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Shit, if anything, he would be the personification, you would think, of what the WWE wants in their WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Hell, they go to great lengths, even Stephanie talking about he's an A-plus player. So where's the outrage? Oh, you're going to do it the easy way and the hard way. Ah, Christ. Oh, we've got a plan B. Ah, Christ. And what else I don't understand is Triple H and Stephanie had such a huge problem with Roman Reigns being given an opportunity by Vicky Guerrero to get into that WWE World Heavyweight Championship ladder match at Money in the Bank that it ultimately was the impetus on screen to fire Vicky Guerrero. But now Triple H just randomly throws Roman Reigns in there and says, oh, well, yeah, there you go. A 4-way match. Oh, boy. Orton and Kane and Cena. Oh, God. The only thing that saved this to me was Triple H's rap skills. For those of you that might be making fun of it, he's God. And if God raps that way, then that's how rap is supposed to be, because God sure as hell knows that today's rap is truly crap. Look at me. I'm going to talk about the same 5 things that have been talked about for 30 years, and I'm going to sit there and have 8 fucking different people appear in one of my songs because that's a cool thing to do. Ah, shut the fuck up. That was the only saving grace of this fucking segment. Otherwise, it sucked. WWE loves to get us repeat matches on their television. They did it here with Rollins versus RVD, but at least this time they let the match go all the way through to a clean, decisive end. The right clean, decisive end. Seth Rollins pinning RVD, and take note, RVD, he hooked both of your legs. That's a sign of respect that you should extend to other performers when you're wrestling them and you get the honor of pinning them. I just wanted to point that out. I didn't really care about this match, but I love what they did afterwards with Ambrose appearing on the screen and taunting Rollins. You know, they've done a really good job of making this a serious personal issue to the point where the briefcase could potentially be a secondary issue if it wasn't for Ambrose saying that every time Rollins tries to cash in, he's going to be a thorn in his side. He is going to be a pain in his neck. This has been developed very, very well. This is the type of mid-card feud that we need more of out of the WWE. I love this. One of the more interesting things that happened on this week's show actually came at the hands of Rusev and Lana, believe it or not. I will say I like the fact that WWE is going away from bashing on the American politicians because, again, that's going to get these guys a babyface pop, not heel heat. So Vince has put his own Republican viewpoints at least somewhat on the back burner here, and that's for the good of the character. So Lana is talking about how America doesn't believe in winning and losing. It believes in participation, which is kind of true. So again, gets a bit of a babyface pop out of me. But then wants to know who the next American failure is going to be. And here comes fucking Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter. Now here's what I'll say really quickly about Jack Swagger. Why does this motherfucker continue to get opportunities and continue to get chances? You gave him the chance at WrestleMania 26, and it took him 2 damn minutes to unhook that briefcase when he was on top of the ladder. This is the same asshat when you tried to sit there and put him with Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler as part of that feud. He didn't do anything to add anything to it. He screwed that up. When you sat there and were going to give him another huge push and send him against ADR, here you fucking go. He gets himself arrested. He gets people hurt. Look at guys like Dolph Ziggler, and look at recently like guys like Wade Barrett. But now that guess means that you give Swagger another push and another chance. But at least I will say this. At least they are going in a babyface direction with him and the We the People stuff, which is something that needed to happen. I really like the dynamics of how they set this up here between Jack Swagger and Rusev. This is a nice, compelling type of nationalistic, patriotic, mid-card feud for a SummerSlam, maybe as far as Night of Champions. So with Wade Barrett injured and out of action for an extended period of time, the Intercontinental Championship is up for grabs again. Whoopee! Into the void steps Cesaro in his match against Kofi Kingston here. And you know what's stupid? Is aligning Cesaro with Paul Heyman. What is Cesaro getting out of this? I mean, legitimately, what is Cesaro getting out of this? Whoopee. One title shot at Money in the Bank where Heyman did nothing to help him. Now he's sitting there. He had a match against the U.S. champion Sheamus. Now he's going after the Intercontinental Championship. So Paul Heyman has equaled mid-card title shots for Cesaro. That's fucking stupid. What's even more fucking stupid is the fact that Kofi Kingston actually wins this fucking match and they don't even care enough to show it on TV. They give it away on the fucking WWE app. You're undercutting your television for your freaking WWE phone app. How ridiculous and stupid. What the hell has happened to this company? And then they sit there and have Cesaro go on this otherworldly beatdown of Kofi Kingston for whatever the fuck reason. It's like, again, they're determined to go against the grain here, all to try and get heat. Not on Cesaro, but on Paul Heyman. The fans want to cheer Cesaro, WWE. Stop going against the fucking grain. Stop aligning him with Paul Heyman. This is stupid and it is doing nothing for him. Word had been leaked by the WWE that tonight a huge multi-platform international star and former WWE champion was going to make his return to the WWE to Raw. And then word leaked later that it was going to be Jericho. So you can imagine the outrage and uproar when it was initially revealed that it was the Miz. Oh, God. I saw Alex Riley tweeting, "Are you effing kidding me?" I saw all the reactions from all these other people like, "Oh, fuck." I tweeted it, and then in a couple minutes, Jericho comes out and everybody nuts themselves. And that's exactly what happened. The WWE did a great job of setting this up. The funny thing is, though, is that I actually do want to see a Miz Jericho feud. That's something I've actually wanted to see for a while. And I kind of wish they would have waited a little bit on sending the Wyatt family at Jericho right away. You know, to me, Jericho needs to win a fucking match or two to reestablish himself a little bit as a legit performer instead of just being a name that comes back and jobs out to somebody and then goes away for 6 months to a year. So Miz would have been a perfect opportunity to do that maybe at Battleground and maybe even at SummerSlam and then maybe have him wrestle the Wyatt family. Or excuse me, at least Bray Wyatt at Night of Champions. It was funny, though. I was talking about this on, I believe, Sunday afternoon on Facebook with the Lex Man of all people, and he can attest to this. I brought up the fact that they really needed Jericho back right now to fill a void, and that, if anything, maybe you should send him at Bray Wyatt because that, to me, would be the most logical, sensible opponent for a Bray Wyatt right now would be a Chris Jericho. And by God, wouldn't you know, that's exactly what they did. I do find it funny, though, again, I just got to point this out, and I'll talk about this in a video later this week on this channel, that, you know, people like The Rock and so on and so forth, they're not okay as part-timers, but guys like Chris Jericho are okay as part-timers because they do flips and kicks, and they're small like you, and, oh, well, they put people over, I guess. But, you know, the Wyatt-Jericho feud is something appealing. This was presented very, very well. This presented a feeling of spontaneity that Raw desperately needs. The Miz comes back. Then Jericho comes back. Then the Wyatts go after Chris Jericho. This felt like really good television. My only thing with this Wyatt-Jericho feud is they need to have Jericho go over Wyatt at some point in time. Even if you did a tag match, let's say at Battleground, it was maybe Jericho and Sheamus versus Bray Wyatt and The Miz. Maybe you have Jericho pin Bray Wyatt at that pay-per-view. You've got to have Jericho go over at some point. Otherwise, this will just kind of feel like an epic waste of time with some really good promos coming up to the inevitable, predictable Bray Wyatt victory. I've really felt bad for Paige because I've always felt like ever since she was given the title that she's been treated as nothing more than a placeholder until maybe an AJ Lee comes back or until they figure out something else to do and somebody else to give that Divas Championship to. Well, apparently that's all she was. She was a placeholder because another big return on this week's Raw to divert your attention away from John Cena being the WWE World Heavyweight Champion was the return of AJ Lee. And you know what's so ridiculous about this here to me is you've got Paige in this wordy promo that was bad talking about how she didn't want to repeat AJ Lee's mistakes and she wasn't going to do that and this wasn't the time. And then AJ Lee says something and Paige is like, yeah, okay. Well, what the fuck was that? And even more so, why do this here? Why not wait until Battleground? Why not wait until SummerSlam? I'm all for these surprise returns and appearances, and I'm for these quick kind of matches like this, but the roll-up finish by AJ Lee, why should she have to beat Paige via a freaking roll-up? Oh, my God. But I do like the fact that it seems like they're going down different paths with these characters. You know, Paige had gotten so anti-diva to the point where she became the total WWE diva, including being a complete fucking moron on this episode. Why give her the title opportunity when you even said you weren't going to do the same damn thing she did? Why do that? You know, but now maybe you could send Paige down a heel role and make her more of an anti-diva, which I think works better as a heel anyways. And AJ Lee could be more of that sweet kind of lovable baby face that I thought she was always better suited for anyways. It was funny as we were getting ready to get to the main event of Raw, Cena and Reigns versus Orton and Kane. I saw many people tweeting about the fact that they were ready to skip this main event. They weren't going to watch this main event. But that's not good, WWE. I don't care if you just view them as the internet fans. They're skipping out on the featured segment of your entire show, the whole thing that your 3-hour show has been building up to. Hey, you know, who could blame them? Yippee, Cena and Orton facing off in another main event on Raw. If you're a wrestling fan that haven't watched Raw in 5 or 7 years, you come back and you see Cena and Orton on opposite sides in a tag match wrestling each other. You're like, well, there's no reason for me to stick around. This is the same shit I remember from 6, 7 years ago that drove me away in the first fucking place. What I did like about this, though, is it set up a couple of really nice things. You know, you get to the point where Seth Rollins is actually getting ready to cash in, and then Ambrose comes in and foils the cash-in attempt. The only thing I thought that was kind of stupid about this is if Dean Ambrose really wanted to fucking screw with this, and he really wanted to screw Seth Rollins out of his opportunity and make it really personal, why not wait until the bell has actually been rung? That way the cash-in attempt is official, and then interfere, maybe hit Cena. Or you could hit Rollins. Either one, doesn't matter. It still results in Seth Rollins unsuccessfully cashing in. But I like how personal this feud is getting between Ambrose and Rollins. This shit is really good. And then that nice end of the show where you've got Roman Reigns and there's Triple H. You know, they were really setting the table nicely here. You didn't have to overthink. You didn't have to do a lot of bullshit. Sometimes it's the little things that make the biggest difference. And the fans could sense this, and the fans could feel this. And the great thing about this is you could tell that the fans actually want to see Roman Reigns versus Triple H. Now, will they do that at SummerSlam? Maybe. Perhaps Night of Champions. That might be the better way for them to go, in my opinion. But they set this up really nicely. So you had a bunch of different things happen in the main event that ultimately diverted your attention away from John Cena being the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. So again, with Money in the Bank out of the way, and now this week's Raw, the road to SummerSlam and Night of Champions has officially begun. And honestly, it's off to a solid start. Not a great start, but a solid start. You know, I like some of the elements of spontaneity on this show. Some of the elements of you got to tune in because you don't know what's going to happen next. With MIZ and Jericho's return, sending Wyatt at Jericho. AJ Lee returning. You know, there were some nice spontaneous elements here. The Reigns Triple H stare down, Ambrose and Rollins, and how that story played out through the night. Again, you know, diverting your attention away from John Cena being an insufferable 15-time WWE champion here. So I like some of the elements of the show, but there was still a lot of crap in between. There was still a lot of garbage on this show. So they could do better in terms of producing a better quality overall Raw show. But, you know, if you're looking at starting off in a very important time in your company's history, at least in recent history over the next couple of months, you could have had much worse starts than this week's show, I will say that.